So today, welcome beautifuls. We are here with the extraordinary Jill Lublin, a dear friend, been part of this circle for years. I think this is like her third or fourth round with us. And she's just, one of the women in the community who has created so much, not only for herself, but who has created so much for other women because um, she helps women or people, entrepreneurs, get their manuscripts sold to publishers. So she pitches people's books to the big publishers and has worked with best-selling authors. She helps authors get foreign rights deals. So that's just my own verbiage before I read her little bio here. But she's also is a best-selling author. And she's an incredible motivational speaker. She's spoken at Fem Talks before, and she just is so good about just like getting the audience engaged. And she's fun, and she's funny, and she's also just this uh, like a spiritual little sprite-like energy that I see. This goddess priestess sprite. But she also holds the polarity of just kind of earth mama. So I just love, she's a very multifaceted woman. I love sharing food with her at the lunches. I love being in circle with her. And I'm so happy that she's here. So I'm going to read the official little bio here. Jill Lublin, you can find out more about Jill Lublin at profitofkindness.com. I'll give a couple of other URLs in a moment, but this is her latest book, Profit of Kindness. Jill Lublin is an international renowned speaker on the topics of publicity, which is why we're here, kindness, which is why we're also here, referrals and networking, which is what this circle is hugely about. And she's the author of the best-selling book, Get Noticed, Get Referrals, which is a McGraw-Hill book, and co-author of the bestsellers Guerrilla Publicity book through Adams Media, and Networking Magic, which is through Morgan James. Jill is a master strategist on how to capture the attention of the media and increase more visibility in the marketplace. I'm going to give you a couple of other URLs for Jill, jilllublin.com, and also a free gift right here, which is the Publicity Crash Course. So you can go ahead and click on that right now and just grab her free gift. So much of being in this circle is about creating publicity through speaking, teaching workshops, being out there kind of locally at the grassroots level, but also online. And that's how many women in this community make their big bucks. And that's we're all learning to elevate in that way. But Jill also has this vast knowledge and many other ways that we can publicize ourselves. And she's familiar with a lot of different strategies. So we get to pick her brains today. We're going to open it up for Q&A. She's going to teach some. But I am so delighted to have her here. And since we can't really clap for her, we could maybe like air clap. I want to invite you to just blow Jill a kiss and just give her your 100% presence. So we welcome you, Jill. Mwah. We're blowing you.
Mwah. Thank you, Jessica. It's always such a blessing to be with you. And really, I acknowledge your goddessness and for bringing us all together, and so appreciate everything you do to make this happen. So thank you. Mwah. I want to just really support all of you today. I'm so glad to be with you and connected to you and really see about how I might help you get your message out bigger, wider, better. So that's really where I want to focus with you today. I want to give you some integrated comments in the beginning and then open up for questions. So start, clicking them on in your brain, questions about publicity, about how to get a book deal. In 3 weeks, I'm going to help people who have self-published get foreign rights deals. So, let me know how I might be able to help you in any kind of multiple ways. So I just want to lay that groundwork so that you can think of questions even as I'm going on. I'd like to give you some foundational pieces, if I may, about getting your name out there, because regardless if you have a book or not, I mean, I've worked with solo entrepreneurs for years, coaches, consultants, service providers, and let me share with you, you don't need a book to get your message out there. What you really need is a great message. And that's what's so key. And then I want you to start thinking about what's your message that underlays your foundation, right? What's the key points that, well, let me say it this way. What's the problem out in the marketplace today that you're the solution to? Okay, so we want to look at that. Like, and even when we open it up, if you want to throw some out there that I can play with you, that's a beautiful thing. So generally, I'm going to suggest to you, because I wrote this book, Guerrilla Publicity. And by the way, who are my authors? Let me see my authors. Raise your hand. Is anyone an author yet? Okay, so I want to show you something. As you're showing things, and this, who has products? Anyone have products on the call? Raise your hand. Okay. So when you're demonstrating, thank you. When you're demonstrating something, you notice I'm holding my book forward a little bit because glare gets on the book, right? And it gets even worse with this one. And I'm just showing you these things because I want you to be aware. So it's like you got to find the right light, right? Kind of like life, you got to find the right light to stand in. But so if you notice, if I do it forward a little bit, glare's really big today. Usually I can get it better. Usually you move things forward a little bit and just be very aware with what's going out in terms of what are people seeing. And that's part of your message, because in my opinion, publicity happens from the minute you walk out your door. So you've got to control your message and know that you're in control of your message, my friends, no matter what. Like, let me just take a quick look at your Zoom names, and I'm seeing one at least. Is it Leah? Leah? And you're on mute, but Leah, hi. So for you, I want you to make a capital L on your name, and put your full name so that we always get that. Again, messaging is key okay, you're welcome. Messaging is key everywhere you go, and you want to make sure that your message is the one that you want out. So that's number one. That's why Jessica reads a bio, right? That's why each one of you needs a great bio. Make sure that you control your bio, that you control your message. So be a solution provider to the people who you serve, regardless of what you do. Okay, so take a look. What's the problem out in the marketplace? Note that and speak to that, and start speaking in what I like to call you language. So, the problem today, I'll give you mine, is that 4 out of 5 businesses will go out of business because you have no clue how to create publicity without spending a fortune. And that's one line. It's just very simple. I want you to speak in 5-year-old language, okay? 5-year-old language. Keep things very simple. Keep your message very simple, and deliver it without jargon, without big words, without your language that will complicate it. Because please understand, my dear friends, we don't know your language. We don't know your particular jargon, and we don't need to. Here's the deal. People only need to want, only need and want what's going to support them. Like today, I want to give you and fill up with PR information. I want to answer all your questions about that. I want to support you if there's any books or deals you want, or how to do that. And that's the space we're in, right? So when you're doing that with your clients, you're thinking, and or your prospects, you're thinking about what is it they're going to connect to. And so I found that the problem today is very powerful for your prospecting, for your social media, for your networking, and to really speak into that and watch what occurs. And it's also great for when you get media. And then we want to answer that question. And so experts, and your experts, provide solutions. And so I want you to give real solutions. So you notice, and I'll demonstrate this for you, and then I'll play with some of you in just a bit. But for instance, I would say, after I state the problem today is 4 out of 5 businesses will go out of business because you have no clue how to create publicity, I would say, I want to give you 3 guerrilla publicity tips today for how to get your message in the media. And then please write these down, because here's comes some great PR tips. The first way to get noticed is to create your ooh, ah factor. The second way is to create the I've heard of you somewhere syndrome. And the third way is to focus on networking magic and show up in your communities at least twice a month for name and face recognition. Okay? And that's it. That's my solid, simple 3-year-old language PR tips.
What was
Okay.
number
And by the
2?
to focus on, well, does somebody get it? I'd be curious, because I'd love for somebody to feed that back in.
Bridget
Anyone?
knows. Bridget raised her hand.
Please. Go ahead, Bridget.
What I got from that was that the first thing you would need to think about is how your ooh ah, how am I getting noticed? Like the hook, how you get them. Number 2 is keep going there so they've heard of you. Create the I've heard of you factor. And then 3, the
I've heard of you somewhere syndrome. Perfect.
By showing up in the community, like at least a couple times a month, so people will see your face and know that you're there.
She gets the gold star. Woo! That was beautiful. Create the I've heard of you somewhere syndrome. That was hot. That was hot. Great reinterpretation. I loved it. And that's true. So those are 3. Because here's the deal. Publicity, and I want to set this foundation for you, is one of the most powerful strategies to create your visibility, your credibility, your profitability. It's to create the familiarity and trust in the marketplace. It's to create that I've heard of you somewhere syndrome. So, if you get more orders, great, and people do. I've seen websites escalate 35% and up from one article. My recent, here's a great thing I want you to, and it's going to illustrate a point, because I want to go into a point about let's talk about the use everything you've got syndrome, and that creates the I've heard of you somewhere syndrome. Okay, so everything you've got, what does that mean? I mean your ethnicity, I mean your religion, I mean what you actually do and how it interprets for the news today. I mean everything. It could be your heartfelt story, it could be your sad, vulnerable story. It could be any aspect of what you offer. So let me give you 2 examples of use everything you've got. One of my coaches, she's a goals coach, and she's African American, and we were working together to create greater publicity for her. She was in my publicity course, and I said, let's go deep on this use everything you've got, but let me ask you, have you gone into Black media at all? And she says, well, no, because I coach all kinds of people. I said, that's great. Would you like more media attention? By using her being African American, guess what? She got in Black Enterprise. Black Enterprise is one of the best business publications there is. She would never have gotten in there had she not used everything she's got. Got that? Now, we are all women here. Let's use that. In March, is it March 8th, I think, is International Women's Day. Christy, I know you do priestess work, and Jessica, you could be in it for Fem Talks, and so on and so forth. I could probably, support many of you to use Women's Day to get your message out in March. Okay, so that's important. A gentleman I work with right now, he was in my Los Angeles publicity course. He is a foster parenting expert, and what he does is he helps foster parents get reunited with their kids, foster kids, get reunited with their parents, usually mostly in Mexico. Well, of course, we know that in the news, there's been these intense stories on the migrant children. So what I had him do, even though it's not exactly what he does, is I had him tie his story to that story. And boy, has that latching his star to that star, taken him to the moon. In fact, he had to excuse himself from my publicity course because he got on ABC News San Diego twice because he did such a good job and knew what to say. You know why? Because he answered it with the solution I just gave you. And then additionally, he just got on CNN. So what can you do? Hallelujah, right? Spreading really good news, because you can use the media in your local market, right? You can use big and small. I count media as podcasts and blogs. I count it as your local TV, radio, newspapers, business journals. I count it as your social media. To me, everything is media. So I really want you to hear that so that you get more expanded in the fact that you are ready right now for recognition at whatever level you're ready at. And it's all good. We'll just step into that using the problem today formula, using the solution that I just presented to you for you in your own words. In other words, you're going to tell people what to do, just like I did. You're going to give them, here's the words, value and benefit. You're going to define the gold that people can do so that they can get these problems solved, so to speak, in the marketplace. And so I think that's really a key for all of you, is that you want to keep looking at how can you give your gold in ways, you notice I gave it in ways that were helpful. I gave it in less than 15 seconds as a message. Because here's the deal, with Profit of Kindness, I'm so pleased to tell you, I was on 7 Fox News interviews in the first week. And I have to tell you, I just love being on Fox talking about kindness. Fox TV News, isn't that hot? That was pretty exciting. I'm going to tell you that the interesting part about that was never about the fact that, woohoo, we got a new book. It was about talking about kindness in the marketplace. It was talking about the unkindness of what was going on politically. In fact, my press release, so I want you to hear this because this is lessons around use everything you've got, right? The press release went out talking about the divided states of America. That's what got me on Fox News. And it wasn't about, woohoo, the new book's out, although, everybody else was happy. I was happy. The point is I got a lot of publicity because of the uniqueness of what I tied it to with regard to current events. So I want you to Google alert yourself, meaning put yourself on Google Alerts, under your keywords, under your name, of course, because when your name comes up, we want to see you, and anything else that you can tie yourself to. And that way, when there is something that came out, you will find out. In fact, I found out that Kindness Month is February. And I'm going to ask each one of you, based on what you do, what month of the year could you tie yourself to, meaning support yourself with holidays that are going on. It could be health. It could be Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It could be Halloween. And in Halloween, I love to say, what are you afraid of? I don't do Halloween. We do, what are you afraid of? And most of you, if I go around the circle, could tell me something that you do in your business that answers that question. And then I want you to know that publicity operates, check this out, 3, 6, and 9 months ahead. Okay. So I want you to be thinking right now, 3, 6, and 9 months ahead, what's coming up? Most of the people I work with, we're planning their publicity for Valentine's Day, for Women's Day, for the first of the year, for sure. For Mother's Day next year, for being a woman, or for, I have a stress coach. We're planning a Women's Day, Mother's Day story for May about how to deal with stress being a mommy, right? So what could you be looking at ahead that will start laying your foundation? And I want you to take the baby steps now and create, here's an important piece too, 500-word article. Keep it really simple. Or it could be even a quick, 3-step simple report. Like when I speak, I have 10 things the media loves and hates, right? And by the way, feel free, email us and I'll send that to you. Just to ask us for the 10 things the media loves and hates. And basically it's straight out of guerrilla publicity. Because what I want you to do is repurpose as much material as you can. So great news for you is once you get one great article, 500 words, which isn't much, and if you can't write, somebody else can. I have somebody who writes articles for me for $50. So everybody can do this. And I would suggest to you that, one great thing is just speak something and then have an article get created. So, and Jessica, you tell me, because when we're going to open up, but I want to make sure that you're clear, and we'll just go back over your message, create the problem today in the marketplace, give people solutions, create the I've heard of you somewhere syndrome. And the way you're doing that is using publicity as a primary marketing strategy. And then also use everything that's happening, the months of the year, for example, the news that's happening today, and create your news so that it fits into all that's happening and what's going on. Like my, foster client who hooked up to a major news story, and that's what got him huge influx. But I'll also tell you something else he did that he learned from me in my publicity class is, and this is really a cool strategy I'm going to share with all of you, is announcements. Now, this is not a press release, and then we can open up for questions if that's okay. Announcements are what goes out every 60 days, and it goes into your local, typically your local business journal, and your local daily paper. Okay, so your daily paper has a place. Like I live in Marin, we have the Marin Independent Journal. They have a section called Movers and Shakers. So most of you, it's called People in the News, Movers and Shakers, something similar. And I want you ladies in it every 60 days. I want you announcing something. It could be, if anybody serve on a nonprofit board, raise your hand. If not serve on a nonprofit board, okay, thank you. So I want you to announce that, even if it's been a while. Okay, anybody hire somebody lately? Hire anybody lately? Raise your hand. Did anybody win an award recently? Did you win an award or anything similar like that? Is anyone spoken at Jessica's Fem Talks or going to be speaking at Jessica Fem Talks? Anybody? Come on, I know you're out there. Oh, not yet. Okay. So what we're looking for are things you can announce. Anybody launch a new program lately? Coaching program, consulting program. Thank you. Good. These are wonderful things to announce. Everything you can announce. So how that would go, for instance, is Christy Michaels has recently launched I'm just going to make it up, a priestess program helping women to fill in the blank, okay? And it's that simple. That's the announcement, and the rest of the announcement will be your bio. So simple thing, you're going to do this every 60 days. It's completely free. And in addition to your in addition to the daily paper and the business journal, you're going to also send it to your alumni magazine, wherever you graduated. You're going to also send it to anything you're a member of that allows announcements, and you're going to post it on your social media. So I want you always to find ways to announce new things. And that's something you're going to be putting in your radar, opening up on your screens, your you remember my favorite Martian? I don't know, I'm dating myself a little bit, but he had those little antennas that I want you to have these antennas up for publicity opportunities. And they are everywhere, my friends, and they are more than you imagine. Okay, so part of that is to look around with what you're already involved in and see if they have newsletters. This could be your churches, synagogues, it could be your alternative churches. They often have newsletters like Have You Asked? I had a soccer mom who I was coaching, and she has a coaching practice, and turns out the soccer team has a newsletter. And she didn't even know that. People who are members of service organizations, there's often, those kinds of newsletters. So take a look, where else could you be featured? All right, so that's something I really want you to take a look at. And so I think though that we're really looking for the the opportunities for your messaging, your connection, the opportunities for you to get that more of that visibility and credibility and familiarity, and using everything you've got. So looking around, and I'll underline this last point, and then I want to open up for Q&A from you and your specific questions. But I want you to take a look at, where is it that you could be talking about that maybe you haven't talked about before? So for instance, an organizing woman who was recently in my publicity course, turns out she there is National Organizing Month. Okay, great. And with that, what we did was we created a holiday just for her called Find Your Desk Day. Now, I don't know, is it just me? Sometimes I can't find my desk. It's piled up. So I want you to think about, what could you be putting out there that could be something new, something that people need to know about and that you could make up. Like I gave you in the beginning of the call, Halloween is coming up. Instead of Halloween, let's do a story called What Are You Afraid Of? And so, for instance, a woman I was working with who's a financial coach, we did a story about 67% of Americans will be broke by the time they reach 60, and that's scary. And that was her Halloween story. Last year, got her a huge blog post. She was the one I mentioned that had an escalated look-see, and I know that's not the technical term, at her website for it increased by 35% that day the blog came out. So that's really cool. So let me open it up for some questions, and then remind me at the end, I want to give you some other really fun, fast, excellent ways to get your name out there. Who'd like to ask a question? Just maybe raise your hand and we can bring you on in.
I saw Sarah and Christy. I'll unmute both of you. Sarah, why don't you go? Oh, for some reason, Sarah, it's not letting me unmute you. So go ahead and unmute yourself.
I unmuted my people.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, dear.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jill. I feel like I just got like a massive download of all kinds of incredible information. So really appreciating this. And
thank you.
Thank you. And my question is, so I'm actually in the process of launching my website and having my little coming out party. And I'm very, very busy. I have clients already, and my primary focus is really on serving my clients. And because I'm just getting started, I'm spending a lot of time on content creation. And I feel like that's a worthwhile investment right now because I'll be able to use it in the future. But I'm wondering if you have any wisdom on what is kind of, I don't have a lot of time to focus on publicity. What is the one thing to focus on right now as I launch? I'm aiming to launch, put out my website at the next new moon. So what's like the one thing to do?
Cool. First of all, congratulations. Second of all, I need to say one thing, because as women, we do this. So I just want to presence this for everybody. You use the word little, and I request that you don't use that anymore. So you said, I'm launching a little. It was right in the beginning when you were actually introducing your business. I'm launching, you used the word little in conjunction with, I think, the website or the business. So as women, just to be aware, right? So as women, I want us, you're welcome. And you are not alone, my darling. So I can't tell you how many people do this. And usually unconsciously, so that's why I'm making it conscious. And that is that we take away the words little, just, okay? Just or little. Please take them out of your vocabulary. And I don't care if you're one business person with no support or, literally launching a new project. Notice that I said I'm launching a new project. That's a very different way to say it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's just something for all of us to be aware of, because it happens all the time for women. And we want to avoid those words. And so if I were to answer that question, what I would say is, the one thing I'd want you to do is message properly with your publicity.
Okay.
Meaning, I want you to have a way of why this solves an issue. And I think that would make a big difference. And so if I'm going to say the one thing to do, always, I feel so strong that everybody must have the right message so that you go out properly in a way that serves, and you don't have to like redo, because honey, do-overs is not easy. And here's the reality is that when I work with people, they're in all levels of business, just starting, mid-level, highly successful celebrities, right? And here's the thing that's interesting, you'll find interesting. The publicity is consistently a similar focus in that you find the right message, you go into proper channels, right? And that every time, I mean, I've had 4 books out, and every single time I do a new PR campaign that's oriented for the right message in this right time. So stay really current with what's going on, and I think that's a real key. If your publicity ties to one thing, that's anything related to anything in the news, I'd probably encourage you to jump on that. Okay, so I think that would be my first place to look, is what's in the news right now. Can you tie to it? I had a woman in Utah was with me on my Zoom webinar, and we were deepening on this for her. She's a mindset coach. That's what she does. Has no book and not even a strong coaching program at this point, similar to where you are in starting, and has done some private work with people, right? And so what she did was she called up Good Day Utah, which is where she lives, and she said, the problem today is that with all this confusion and tension, people just can't focus on a positive way to get through today's economic marketplace, which is where she was focused. She ended up with an 8-minute Good Day Utah segment. They loved her. And it was tied into the confusion and the chaos of today. Do you see where we went with that? Mm-hmm. And by the way, it was a verbal pitch. She didn't have a big press release. I mean, I just said, you're going to call up the station, you're going to say this, and gave her the script. And so I find that if you can tie in to that, that really helps. Is that helpful for you in terms of a good start? Okay,
absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Oh, you're so welcome. My pleasure. Jessica, who do we want next?
Christy.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Hi. Hey, Jill.
Hey, Christy.
It's great to see you. And
great to see you too.
I just have to thank you so much for putting what it feels like in our culture, opposite words together: kindness and profit.
Oh, thank you.
And that is brilliant. And it's just like Jessica, when I went to her weekend business coaching sessions and whatnot it was all about doing it in a very harmonious, beautiful, nurturing, uplifting, dance and song. And I mean, and it was business. It was a lot of business, and so changing this paradigm. And speaking of changing the paradigm, I'm curious about the efforts that you're making with good news and what's happening in the good news arena. So I'd like you to speak a little bit to that, because I know you've been on the forefront of really helping to change that mindset too. Because I think we're all about good news, and we all are women who, feel very passionately. But I did want to tell you about also to let you know that announcement thing that you were talking about, I post announcements too, and I did get the Channel 10 news hour showing up at my event, and I ended up being the lead story on the 10 o'clock news on Fox News. And then the story went viral and got picked up in LA and whatnot. And it was really great, because now because they put them up on YouTube. So now, as a part of my bio, I have my YouTube I am doing the having produced the event, which was a fabulous event. So they,
Whoa, Christy,
but
that
it
is
did end up
so. Wait,
making
wait. Can I just talk to that for just a moment?
yes, please.
So, first of all, like woohoo! Could everybody go like woohoo, woohoo for Christy, woohoo, woohoo? Because that is a celebration, my darling, and much deserved. And one thing I feel very strong about is leveraging. Okay, so you just got a major piece, and leverage, leverage, leverage is your word of the day. And what that means is the media is quite incestuous. And, when you've been featured on one, oh, she must be good. And that's how you get more. Okay, that's why, frankly, I got multiple Fox News segments, because when you're on one, they assume you're good and they'll have you on others, right? So I want you to leverage, 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 and really utilize the power of this while it's here in front of you. Okay, so that's one thing. And you can make another announcement about this, right? And get your name out there again because of it. And from now on, when you invite media, you say, well, I've been covered by.
Yeah.
You also have to up-level your bio immediately and include it. And Christy, you've taken my publicity course, haven't you?
Yes,
I think in the past.
Yeah.
Okay, well, guess what? You're invited back as an alumni for free.
Oh, thank you so
So
much.
mark down October 29th, because I want you to do some leveraging points to get yourself out there.
Okay.
And you are so welcome. It's leverage, leverage, leverage is key.
Yeah.
For you.
Thank you, honey.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Congratulations,
Okay.
Christy. That's awesome. I also want to say, just as an example, that we all remember, there was that time back in, I think it was like early 2000s, when the Dalai Lama was quoted to say the whole thing about Western women, and how many women since then have tied that to their message. I can't tell you how many talks and podcasts I've listened to where that quote is tied in and is still relevant and current, even though that was a number of years ago, but that was a good example of this figure that is important to us and most of our clients, that we, is like a big news type figure, that at least in our circles, and for many people in the world, said this thing, and that thing was so in alignment with what so many of us are creating, that's a great example of, like, Oprah recently said, like, her speech at the Golden Globes, that was another awesome thing to tie into, that was just so many people were blown away by, so many people saw it. Marianne Williamson heard the speech she gave about the right after the Boston Marathon bombings, so there's things like that are good news, these uplifting, newsworthy moments of other powerful people, spiritual leaders. And I think that those are good examples of some of what Jill's talking about, that it doesn't always, there's so many of those examples that we can look for and that happen throughout the year.
Well, there's positive, and to be honest, in today's chaotic, wild, times, if you can tie into a solution to chaos, to stress, to political upheaval, to, like, when the Charlottesville thing happened, I had some of my people who were more coaches, psychologists, helper types, who also put, here's how to deal with this. Here's how to talk to people better. Here's how to, and just keep looking at headlines. I mean, I pick up my phone every day and I just look at the headlines pieces and then think about, okay, who do I know that has something you can tap into about this? That's how Richard, the foster man, got in on the whole migrant child story. Take a look at how you can be dealing with the news in a way that's powerful with a positive message.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thanks, Jill.
You bet.
Cool. Let's open it up for some
Well,
more questions. You have an opportunity to pick the brain of a multiply published author and best-selling author and PR expert. Leah.
Hi, Jill. Thank you so much. This has been really great. And what I love is kind of getting your essence and feeling more you, because, you know, we can see the content, we can see your picture, but it's been really great kind of hearing your voice and
oh,
and
thank you.
and the transmission of your passion and how supportive you do want to be. It's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, I'm writing a bunch of notes. So I'm making a shift here into kind of just owning more of being a coach, because I've been a coach and I've been an actor and I've been a facilitator and I'm a single parent. So there's all these ways in which I've boxed myself. And I'm really aware of it now as I'm also a full-time student, and I recognize, okay, I need to focus on getting a website that represents me as a coach. Because right now it's coach, director, actor. And I think for potential clients, that would be really distracting and confusing, right? So baby steps of like for publicity, because I'm hearing all these things, I'm like, oh, this would be helpful. But if someone were to go to my website, I should just be marketing myself as a coach.
So here's, it's always an interesting thing around the websites. And by the way, I have a great resource for that. He happens to be my husband. He's fabulous at this. It's reasonable. So Jessica, I don't know if I can text you or put on Zoom, but I'd love to share that resource. And let me just share with you that so what I learned from him is, if you notice, Jessica gave you domains for profitofkindness.com. And by the way, typically when I'm working with people, I drive people to publicitycrashcourse.com, or I drive them to jilllublin.com for speaking and training.
Got it.
And because I have a book, I want that domain, particularly for media, particularly to shine on some of that. So I'm a big believer in, for each book, have a book site, so to speak. However, on the coaching side of life, probably this is something really for Steve to ask, but what I think it would be great is to have a site that, yes, is specifically for coaching. And maybe there's a piece that says, if you're interested in, or there's a drop down, click here kind of thing. And so that, to avoid some of that confusion, I think would be good. Okay. So I think that just depends, what's your main piece for putting out there. And yes, I'd have the website particularly focused on that, which is why, by the way, because my publicity course is one of my main offerings, I pulled it out as a separate site. And when I'm on media, that's the only thing I drive people to is publicitycrashcourse.com. Right. And that's just because Jill Lublin's too hard to spell. I mean, that's honestly from, sometimes a PR perspective, that may be a piece of it. And even thinking about your emails and, what are you going to put out there? Think about, how's it spelled? Can people see it? Is it easy? And then making sure you have default things. Steve's always helped me with, all right, if they spell it wrong, here's what we're going to get, right? And meaning we're going to get them back to the right place. So I think that's really important.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're so welcome. I hope that helps.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
You bet. Who else has a question? Anything I can help you with?
Looks like Kat. Kat's raising her hand. I saw Victoria. I saw Beth. So let's go to Kat first.
Perfect.
Hi, Jill. Thanks so much for this call this morning. This is all really helpful. One thing I was curious about was just something that you mentioned at the beginning of the talk, and I wanted to just understand more about what it meant. When you talked about getting published and you said getting foreign rights, what does that mean? Because if your book is published here, and I don't know, someone in the UK or Europe or wherever else in the world, like, I'm curious about this foreign rights thing, if you can explain that more.
Absolutely. So part of what I do for people is I help people get book deals with publishers and agents. And then the other piece is those who already self-publish, meaning For foreign rights deals in particular, if you are a self-published author, it means you own the rights to your material, to your copyright. That's good news as far as I'm concerned. And by the way, my books, because they're all on major publishers, I don't own the foreign rights. I actually had to negotiate back, and I'm happy to tell you I got it, the profit of kindness, because you know why? So here comes foreign rights. I had a publisher in Kuwait who wanted to publish my books into Arabic and then put them in the Kuwait airport stores. And I'm like, yes, yes. And my publisher says, well, we own the rights. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got blah, blah, blah. And it's like they negotiated so much. We didn't get the deal in enough quick time. So I'm hoping to resurrect that. What that means is, and by the way, I got my rights back. That's how I got my rights back, because they didn't move quick enough. So foreign rights, what it means is you give the rights to your book. So when I'm going to Frankfurt in 3 weeks, I'll be sitting in front of people who represent publishers and or the publishers themselves in all countries throughout the world. Literally, it's the United Nations. So I've got appointments with India and China and Taiwan and Brazil and Italy and Germany and so on and so forth, all over Europe and Asia particularly. And I sit with them and I show them who I'm representing, and then they own the rights if they choose to take on the book to that, it's called that territory, that part of the world, and they can distribute it. They do translate it, and they take all the responsibility for any of that expense, and they pay the author in advance, just like here, to actually own the rights to all of that. Is that more helpful? So in other words, you're going to have global impact, the author, by having your book in multiple countries and having them distribute it in their countries. It's like fabulous. It's really exciting, and it's a way to have global impact that's far greater than just having your book in North America or in the United States.
And if you were self-published, would that just have been easier because you wouldn't have had to go negotiate around your existing U.S. publisher?
That's exactly it. I mean, honestly, in when I'm going in Germany in October, there's nobody who is on a major publisher because they're all self-published. That's the good thing about being self-published is, yes, you own the rights. Like I lost that Kuwait deal in the moment because of being on a major publisher. My intention is to resurrect it. Please all send a prayer on that. And yes, it's much easier if you're self-published to basically cut deals and do all this kind of fabulous stuff.
Cool. Thank you.
And it's a lot faster being a self-published author, honestly. You're welcome. Okay. Who else?
I saw Victoria and Beth. Let's have Beth go. And then Jill, I wanted to give you an opportunity to just talk about, I think you had an invitation for women today, and then we still have time for more questions after that. So let's hear from Beth.
Oh,
and then
perfect.
Jill, when Beth is
you.
done, you can invite us to awesomeness.
Oh, thank you so much. Go ahead, Beth.
Great, thanks. Thanks so much, Jill. So wonderful to circle again with you here.
Always.
I remember when you presented to our romance writers years ago, and it's so wonderful to hear your message and have it reinforced again. One of the challenges, well, there's two challenges I personally have as an author about implementing publicity. One is really discerning right timing. I notice because as a creative writer, I'm often in other time zones, so to speak, on the creative ends of my business, especially now that I'm working on science fiction. It's like I'm way in the future. And I've been noticing that my zeitgeist, or like I am paying attention to like all the science news, for example. But when it comes to marketing myself for the fiction that I already have published, I struggle with where to insert myself in terms of timing. But also as a writing coach too, in my niche, I find timing may not be something I'm super keyed into. And I'm wondering if when it's something that's happening, say in the news, is it too late? Or it sounds like you're saying you can surf with what's showing up in the headlines right now and get in front of that the news media is still hungry for a perspective on that.
The news media is hungry for perspectives, and the great news for all of you here today, and I really want you to get this, do not be afraid of publicity. What's so beautiful is the media really needs you. They want you. They want people just like you, extraordinary, ordinary, fabulous women who are, making comments and contributing. And Beth, you could do a whole story on creativity in today's world and how important it is, because being a writer is creative, correct?
Super creative.
So, yeah, you bet. So I think that's really important. And I want you to keep in mind, again, the 3, 6, 9 month time frames. Like, think ahead, outside, and in front of the box.
Yeah.
So that's really a key.
And I think I'm actually kind of better at that. Also, my second question for you is support, help. I realized over the years my forte is creation of product and books and curriculum and all the stuff and events and whatever, trainings. And the marketing piece, while I can do it, I'm good at it. I used to do it back in the day. I really need some support in this area with someone who gets me, gets my audience. I'm especially thinking of my writing coaching business, and is more person oriented, because I'm much more idea and product oriented. And yet I don't have a budget. I'm in a down cycle right now, and I'm like, okay, how do I make this happen? Because publicity would be awesome, right? It would help everything move upwards. And I have so much content now compared to way back then. So I'm just looking for different and creative ways to get support, maybe partner with people. I don't know if you have any suggestions on this, because I have all the ideas. I know who to talk to and where to go. I just don't have the time, because really I should be putting out the books that I'm in the process of putting out, and of course helping my clients put out their books. So
one thing, when this usually is from my people in the publicity course, but I'm going to give it to all of you, and that is, I have a wonderful affiliation with an organization called Free Up. It's basically virtual assistants in all parts of the world. And, for instance, I hired someone at $7 an hour to look up all the podcasts that would be appropriate for me and basically pitch me. I gave him exactly what to say and how to say it. So I think they're
perfect for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you can get support that way. Most of my clients are working with very inexpensive virtual assistants that help them create a team that's affordable. So if I may, I'm going to tell you to email, and Jessica, maybe you can help me with this, info@jilllublin.com, which is my assistant, Mary Beth, and tell her to give you the link, which gives you my $50 free, $50 on me first, and that's because I negotiated that for all my clients, but you get it as a fun gift today. And so for $50, here's what I'm going to tell you. Give them a couple simple, easy assignments, and make sure they do them well, and that will be really good for you. And then you can find your right person, but I always test a little bit, and not give them too much at once. Just do an hour or two. Make sure you like them, that they're focused. But that is a great way to build visibility quickly and simply. And that's an example of a task I gave someone that will really help you. And it's a very affordable way to get a lot of the publicity piece done.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much. And what is the name of that service again?
You're welcome.
Free
Up, and Free Up, but it's got 3 E's. So, and Jessica is going to give you the email to Mary Beth, which Mary Beth will give you our link, which basically gives you the $50 free. And then if you like them, great. And if you don't, there are others. But this is one I've actually had good results with. And believe me, I've been through a few. And so I like this one. I know he vets the people very, very strongly. And it's like the top 1% of who he vets that are really good people.
Great. Thank you. And just by the way,
You're so welcome.
I gave one of my authors your do's and don'ts list the other day as we were about to publish her book. So she found it.
Thank you, Beth. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
So we have a couple more questions. It looks like, Jill, I wanted to just give you an opportunity. Thanks for the Free Up resource. And I did put her email address, et cetera, for women here. Did you have an invitation for women today?
I do. So I know I've mentioned the publicity course, and I actually do one live in the Bay Area. On October 29th is my next one. If you can't do that, come on live Zoom with me, same great course, and then we'll put you in the next live one. And, ladies, this is a get it done, no nonsense. All the things we're talking about today, we're going to actually do in the course. Literally 3 documents and then 4 templates you can use forever. So you don't have to think about it. We're going to get it done. So I think that will really serve you. And if you went to my website, you'll see it's $12.97. And what I'm going to do is give you a fabulous code to make it $4.97 for you today. And you can do 2 payments if you need to. So that's super duper cool. And in fact, now the code is super duper. I'm just going to ask you to please do it within the next 48 hours at that code, super, SUPER, duper, DUPER, and all one word. Thank you so much, Jessica. So that's going to do that. And I have one other thing, which is a mastermind, which is both virtual and live. You can ask Mary Beth about that. I know she had some cool price that just went out. You can ask her about that. But I'm really going to recommend, for most of you, what I'm hearing and where you're at today, the publicity course. And I invite you to do that with me. And it's a lot of fun, and we get it done. That's what's most important.
Awesome. Thanks for the great deal. And also thank you so much, Jill, for doing these locally and doing them online.
Yeah, so that's what I found. This is so funny, Jessica. Funny enough, a few people, because they can't make a certain day, just come on the live. It's live Zoom. It's the same great course. So don't let, and this is something for all of you. If you're doing something that's date specific, make sure you have other ways that people can come with you, right? Because there's plenty of people in the Bay Area who've done live Zoom with me and then come at a date specific. And I say this because this is part of your publicity, right? You've got to have different ways that you can offer things to people. So I have my publicity course. I have my live mastermind, and find ways that you can offer things to people in multiple formats.
Yay. I think Jill, would you like to open it up for more?
Yeah, maybe one more question, and I actually want to give another cool. I mentioned Steve, and the other thing Steve does at my course is I'm gonna do the same thing that he offers at the course, which is basically, if you need some help, he'll give you a free consult. So email Steve at planetlink.com. That's another resource I'm going to give you. Steve at planetlink.com. And for those of you with the website questions, he's fabulous at that. The other thing I'd love to tell you, hang on. Oh, I did tell you already about Google Alerts, right? Yes. To make sure you register yourselves and your topics under Google Alerts. That'll be important. Beautiful.
Oh, Victoria doesn't have a question anymore? Oh, okay. Well, let's get one final question. Make it a good question.
That's right.
Better be good. Oh, I have a question. I always felt a little bit like dumb for not really understanding this. I don't quite understand what a press release is, and like, what is it? I've never seen one. I've only heard about them. I know it's something that you send to people somewhere, but like, what exactly is a press release?
Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Silly to ask.
No, it's not silly at all. And for those of you joining my course, just know we're going to actually walk through this and get her done. But as an overview, let me share that a press release, think of it like a document that actually goes into the media's hands. So you remember when I opened this call with the problem solution? We actually are going to write that out, and then that piece That's why I asked you, please really think about this, make some notes on it, because that problem solution piece, the way I do it is actually the press release. And that will become the body of the press release, which then goes out to the media, who then sees what problem you're solving in the marketplace. And with that, the good news is they're able to make a decision basically on you. So that press release is usually emailed to media folks, and is the document that says your story. And it also includes your bio. And it formulates the foundation of your message, consolidates it, and is the go-to document for the press. Does that help?
Yeah.
And by the way, in my world, it's 4 paragraphs long. And I don't know, Jessica, if you have my book, Guerrilla Publicity, but there's lots of templates and examples in the back of Guerrilla Publicity for anyone who wants to take a look at that. Great resources right there. And, here's what I definitely tend to say. Just, can I just tell you a little secret? I didn't write my press release for the profit of kindness. The one that I told you that was the Divided States of America. Randy Pizer, who is one of our featured FemTalks resources, she wrote it. So I'm really big on, make sure that you have and the reason I didn't, it's too much in my own space. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know enough to separate, and this is for all of you. You're in your own boxes and your own messages. It's always good to have other people come in and really hone it for you and see you differently than maybe you ever saw yourself. So I'm big on get experts to do it. Free Up, I'm sure, has some great people that can do things like this. So in general, I'm big on if it ain't your genius, it ain't your job. And press releases are my genius, and I know enough not to do them for myself.
I want to just piggyback on that with my a quickie little personal thing. When I was really, really sick, and I was actually on food stamps for a few years because I really couldn't work. And I made the decision to hire a house cleaner because I was like, it's not my job to do all the
That's right.
of like the deep clean of my house. That was like a huge leap of faith to have such little money, but know that was such a huge energy suck. I'm not a Martha Stewart. I like decorating. I don't like cleaning. Beautiful.
I'm with you, girl. I'm with you.
And I have been able to maintain, I found a great deal, first of all. So that was awesome. But I've had a house cleaner clean my house every single week since that decision, and it freed up so much time and energy for me to focus on healing my body, getting well again, focus on my business, what was actually important in my business. So I really am a proponent of what Jill is saying of like, if it's not your job, it's causing angst and stress, and you can pay a little bit to just have someone else handle that for you. Things that are like especially ongoing stuff, which might be writing, it might be bookkeeping, house cleaning, childcare, whatever. Find that one linchpin and start there. Because ultimately, to build a spacious business, you need a team of awesome supporters, some of which you pay, some of which happily support you because you have a collaboration with them. So just really wanted to speak to that piece. Don't do it all alone.
Exactly. I think that's really the piece is please get a team, please have solid people around you, and you can do it in phases and different times.
Yeah. Jill, I just want to thank you so much. This was so juicy. I'm so glad we were able to open up for Q&A. This chat, you can copy and paste it. If any of you want any of these resources, now is the time. When we end the call, it's going to go away. I will do a summation that I post with the video of this call in your Wisdom Vault, so you can go back and watch juicy tidbits of this. I want to encourage you to stay connected with Jill in any way. We offered a free gift at the beginning of the call. I reposted that link a few moments ago, publicitycrashcourse.com/free gift. She also has this publicity course coming up that women in the community have taken and rave about. So stay connected to Jill. She's also part of the circle, and so just, let her be part of your team. Jill, thank you so much for your time. I know you're zooming off to a flight.
To New York. I'm going to be in New York.
So thank you for taking the time to be available for us. It's just so wonderful to be in sisterhood with you. We're going to take a big breath for Jill in appreciation. So let's just take a moment. Ursula says gratitude. Let's just take a moment to take a big breath for Jill, really acknowledging the brilliance that she brings to this community, and of course the brilliance that she brings out into the world. Big, delicious breath for Jill. Holding her in highest intentions and prayers. Thank you, Jill. All right, beautiful women. I'm going to stop the recording. Jill, any last little word you want to fit in before I stop, and then we'll complete?
My most important piece to all of you is your message matters. Your message matters. Go out and do something about it, please. The world is waiting for you, ladies.